It was 3:15 in the morning, and I was alone at the front desk of the Crestview Motor Lodge. The place was a relic from the 70s, a 2-story horseshoe with a flickering neon sign that buzzed more than it glowed. I was 19, a college sophomore working the graveyard shift for an extra $300 a month. The job was simple. Sit behind the bulletproof glass, check in late arrivals, and keep the parking lot log. Nothing ever happened here. This was a town where the biggest crime last year was someone stealing a lawn gnome. But on that particular night, in February of 2010, I learned that every quiet place has a dark seam running through it. The digital clock on the wall read 3:18 when the front door rattled. I looked up from my textbook and saw a man pressing his face against the glass. He was young, maybe mid-20s, wearing a dirty gray hoodie and carrying nothing. No bag, no keys in his hand. I gestured to the intercom and asked if he needed a room. He just pointed at the door, mouthing the word, "Please." Something was off. His eyes were wide, too wide, and he kept glancing over his shoulder into the dark parking lot. I hesitated, feeling the weight of the deadbolt under my hand. If you've ever had that moment where your gut screams at you but your politeness wins, you know exactly what I did next. I unlocked the door. He stumbled inside like he'd been running for miles. His breath was ragged and he smelled of sweat and cigarettes. "You gotta help me," he said, his voice cracking. "There's someone following me. He's been in my car since I left the gas station on Route 9. I stared at him, trying to process. Route 9 was at least 10 miles from here, past the county line. "Who is following you?" I asked. He shook his head, his hands trembling. "I don't know his name, but he's wearing a mask. One of those white plastic ones." He was in the back seat the whole time. I only saw him when I looked in the rear view at a red light. My blood went cold. I had a security camera feed on the monitor behind me, 4 cameras cycling through the lot. I turned and looked. The feed showed the front entrance, the side alley, and the back parking area. Nothing moved. Just the rain making ripples in the puddles under the sodium lights. The man stood behind me now, breathing down my neck. "He's out there," he whispered. "He was in the trunk when I parked. I heard him get out." I scanned the cameras again. Still nothing. But then, on the 3rd camera, the one pointing down the long corridor of the motel's east wing, I saw a shape. A figure, standing perfectly still at the far end near the ice machine. It was wearing dark clothes, and its face was a white oval. No features I could make out at that distance. It was just there, watching. That's when the phone rang. It was the line for room 212. I picked up, hearing the static of an old handset. A man's voice, low and calm, said, "The person at your front desk is not who you think he is." Then the line went dead. I turned around and the guy in the gray hoodie was gone. The door was still locked from the inside, but the key to the office supply closet was missing from the hook where I kept it. I heard a scrape from behind the door to the vending machine room. The little room where we kept the candy bars and soda. I backed away slowly, my hand reaching for the silent alarm button under the desk. I pressed it hard. The second story takes place 2 years later, in the summer of 2012, at the Highland Park Hospital in a suburb of Chicago. I transferred to a night shift job in the Environmental Services Department, pushing a mop and empty trash bins from floor to floor. Most people don't realize how empty a hospital is at 3 in the morning. The lights are dimmed. The hallways echo every footstep. And the only other people you see are the nurses at their stations, glued to their monitors. I worked the basement floor, the morgue, the storage wings, places nobody visits after midnight. It was supposed to be the safest job in the building. One Sunday morning around 2:15, I was cleaning the corridor outside the old radiology wing. That section had been closed for 6 months. Gates pulled across the entrance, but that night, the gate was unlocked, slid open about a foot. I should have called security, I know that now. But I was tired, my shift was almost over, and curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the mop bucket inside and flicked on the light. The fluorescence hummed to life, revealing long hallways lined with dusty gurneys and stacked boxes of expired supplies. At the far end near the old MRI machine, a pair of legs were visible dangling from a chair. I remember my heart hammering in my ears. A sound like someone tapping a pencil on a desk. I took a step closer and saw a man in hospital scrubs, a stethoscope around his neck. He was slumped forward, not moving. I called out, "Hey, you okay?" No response. I walked up to him, and that's when I saw the needle tracks on his arm, fresh and red. He wasn't a doctor. He was wearing a stolen lab coat, and he was breathing. Shallow, raspy breaths. I turned to run back to the gate, but the light behind me went out. The man in the chair lifted his head and looked at me. His eyes were glassy, his pupils pinpricks. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "This wing is closed." I stumbled backward through the dark, my hands finding the wall, the cold tiles guiding me. I heard him stand up, the creak of the old chair. Then footsteps, slow and deliberate. I reached the gate and yanked it shut. I locked it with my own padlock, one I used for the supply closet. I ran up the stairs to the main floor, my legs shaking. You know that moment when your gut tells you something is deeply wrong, and then it turns out you were right? If you've ever found a door that should have been locked, if you've ever walked into a room and felt the air change, you understand why I still think about that night. Subscribe if you want to keep hearing these stories, the ones that peel back the ordinary and show you what hides underneath. And in the comments, tell me about a time you entered a place you weren't supposed to be in, a forgotten corner of a building, a room that wasn't on any map. Share your real story. I told the head nurse what I saw. She called security. They found the man still in the radiology wing, but he had removed the lock somehow. He was sitting in the cafeteria, drinking a cup of coffee, wearing the same stolen scrubs. When they asked for his ID, he gave them a fake name. He wasn't a patient. He wasn't staff. He was just someone who'd been living in the abandoned wings for weeks. It's a strange thing to realize that someone can be that close to you without you ever knowing. Makes you wonder what else might be hiding just out of sight. If stories like this make you look over your shoulder a little more carefully, then subscribe. There are more of them, and they all come from the same quiet hours of the night. I'd love to hear about your own encounters with people who were where they shouldn't be. Drop a comment and tell me about the strangest person you ever found in an empty place. I'll be reading them. The third story is the one that still makes me check my backseat to this day. This happened in November of 2013, when I was working the overnight shift at a 24-hour gas station on the edge of town. It was a small place, just 4 pumps and a mini mart with a coffee counter. The kind of place where truckers stop and nobody else. I was the only employee from 11 at night until 7 in the morning. The register was low on cash. The safe was bolted to the floor. I felt safe enough until the night I met the girl in the yellow raincoat. She walked in just after midnight, soaking wet from a sudden downpour that had started 10 minutes earlier. She looked about 17, maybe 18, wearing nothing but a thin yellow raincoat and jeans. No umbrella, no car keys in her hand. She came straight to the counter, her face pale, her teeth chattering. "I need you to call the police," she said. "My boyfriend is outside. He's in the pickup truck. He's dead." I blinked, not sure I heard her correctly. "What do you mean he's dead?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "He shot himself in the front seat an hour ago. I've been walking for miles." I looked through the glass doors at the parking lot. Her pickup truck was there, a red Ford F-150, parked under the single light furthest from the store. The engine was still running. I could see the exhaust puffing in the cold. The driver's side window was rolled down. I grabbed the phone and dialed 911. While I was on the line with the dispatcher, the girl walked to the back of the store, past the cooler, toward the restrooms. I told her to stay by the counter. She didn't listen. I watched her on the security monitor as she opened the door to the women's restroom and went inside. She didn't come out. The police arrived 8 minutes later. They found the pickup truck empty. No body, no blood, no shell casings. The engine was off. The windows were up. The girl in the yellow raincoat was gone. The restroom was empty. The back door unlocked, swinging in the wind. I gave my statement to the officer, a tired-looking man with a gray mustache. He asked me to describe her again. I did. He looked at his partner, then back at me. "Son," he said, "we got a call from a woman matching that description 30 minutes ago. She said her boyfriend was threatening to kill himself, but the address she gave us was an empty lot on the other side of town. No truck, no boyfriend. Just a payphone that hasn't worked in 5 years. I never found out who she was. I checked the security footage later that night, frame by frame. The camera at the back door showed her walking out into the rain. But when she stepped past the light, she simply disappeared into the dark. No car waiting for her. No other person visible. Just the storm swallowing her whole. I still think about her sometimes, especially when I'm driving home late at night and I see a figure on the side of the road, thumb out, wearing a yellow coat in the rain. I never stop. Not anymore. The night shift teaches you that most of the danger you'll face never leaves a trace. It just passes through like the rain and then it's gone. But the feeling stays with you, like a bruise you can't see. When I finally went home that morning, the sun was just coming up over the interstate, painting the wet asphalt in shades of orange and gold. I sat in my car for a long time before starting the engine, watching the last of the storm clouds drift away toward the horizon. The world looked normal again, like nothing had ever been wrong. But I knew better now. I knew that the night shift had shown me a version of reality that most people never get to see. A version where strangers appear out of nowhere, wearing masks or stolen scrubs or yellow raincoats, and then vanish just as quickly, leaving behind only questions. That was nearly 12 years ago. I don't work night shifts anymore. I have a day job now, with windows that let in natural light, and coworkers who talk about the weather and their kids. But every time I hear the buzz of a fluorescent tube, or smell the particular mustiness of a motel lobby, or see a figure standing still at the edge of a parking lot, that old feeling comes back. It sits in my chest like a cold stone, reminding me that the world is thinner than we pretend. That behind every locked door, every empty hallway, every quiet street, at 3 a.m, something could be waiting. Something real. Something that doesn't need a ghost to be terrifying. All it needs is a person with a plan and the cover of darkness to hide it.